everything starts and ends with us personally. If there's something not good in my life, it started with me. So I got to fix it to get. If there's something great going on in my life, it started with me, and I've got to make sure I don't mess it up.
Hey, welcome to 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. We're a father-son leadership podcast where we talk with other lifelong learners about making an impact and solving big problems. And, we were talking with Steve Ramona yesterday, Cam, and just reminded me when you were talking about resetting your camera. You know what? I need to ping him and find out what that kit was, the little travel podcast kit. That might be
it sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. Although I'm imagining a Pelican case that's 2 by 3 by, and I'm like, man, I don't want to lug that thing around. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it gives you real nice podcasts. Also adds $80 to your baggage fees every time you're flying somewhere. But gosh, I was just joking about my cameras. There's too much of a gap right here. I'm gonna be standing up straight. I gotta make sure I'm good with this.
Gotta keep myself centered. A good friend.
My slouch up down here.
Yeah. No slouching. Well, and that was what I was giving TK a hard time about. TK Klund joining us today. TK, how you doing, man?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. So for those of you watching us in your pickup truck as you're driving down the I-35 in Texas,
you're supposed to tell them not to do that. Tell them not to do that.
Let me give you a little Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first off, don't be watching us. Listen to us. And when you come back home and you turn us on YouTube, you'll see that TK's got his softball shirt on, and he just blessed. He did his what the heck is that called? Because I ain't Catholic. I can't remember. The cross thing.
Sign of the cross. Sign of the cross.
Yeah. Because I-35 in Texas. I mean, we got
especially if you need that anyway. Just driving down I-35 when you're not watching the podcast.
Good grief!
When you're actually watching the road, you still need that.
Yeah, I-35 ain't the highway that I grew up on when I used to run down to College Station back and forth to Fort Worth. It's there's a few more vehicles on there right now, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, and the lifelong construction that's always taking place on 35 never ends.
Yeah, well, that's job security. That was what we.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah. So TK, man, thanks for joining us. I wanted to. I was curious, Air Force, and then you went straight into entrepreneurship. You didn't play around, right?
Well, I went from Air Force, and I took an early out to actually go play college football with my little brother at Southeast Missouri State, but. While we were waiting on that and kind of working out with the team and kind of getting ready that spring and over the summer, a friend of mine came and, was like, Homeboy, why are you wasting your time doing this? Come into sales with me. And he was selling manufactured homes. And that was in 1995. And, the money they were making was, I thought that was Donald Trump money, back then coming out of the Air Force, what those guys were making and what I was making coming out of the Air Force. So I actually ended up not going to college, went straight into manufactured homes, and then, was recruited down here to Fort Worth in late 99 and actually got down here in early 2000 with Oakwood Homes, which was a Fortune 500 company, to run a couple of locations for them, and then, getting ready to be in that district manager spot. So, I did that. Now I was in a car accident in 2000, which kind of changed my life around a little bit. I on my 30th birthday, actually, I had my face redone. So I'd actually been in an accident just barely a week earlier, fell asleep driving home, and, just 7 days a week, 14, 15-hour days, and just didn't quite make it. And after that happened, I was waiting for the bells in my head to go off, and my wife and I were talking, and she's like, "Are you going back to manufactured homes?" I'm like, "Nope. I could care less about money anymore. I really don't care. Like, life's too short. I'm 30. We had a couple young kids, and it was like, there's got to be something better out there. And somebody recruited me to corporate world, did very well there as a VP and executive VP for another company that recruited me. And then 2008.
Wait, I gotta
get,
pause you there, dude, because what you said was you and your wife after the accident had this discussion about you didn't care about the money, which means I want to spend more time with the family. But then you just took a corporate VP role, which to me is counterintuitive to that, ain't it?
Well, it was Monday through Friday. I was used to working 7 days a week. This was Monday through Friday. And actually what I would do is, I love working when I'm having fun. Like, I can be there all day and all night, honestly. And what I would do is load my week up early in the week. So, usually Monday I would come home around 7 or 8, but then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I would probably work until 9 p.m. from, 9 to 9, 8 to 9. And then Friday I'd leave around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This Saturday and Sunday I was done. So, and I was actually making probably at that point even double the money I was making in manufactured homes. So, with less people to, manage. And then 08, kind of going through the economy we're going through now, people are losing jobs. People had to make cutbacks. And my shareholders came to me and said, we need to get rid of about half the company. Is on June 2nd, 2008. Would have been about 150, 175 people. Wow. And I was like, start with me, I'm done. And that's really what kind of started my entrepreneur career was, I'm tired of making everybody else millions of dollars and, and collecting, a paycheck and making about 0.000 of what I was making them. So 2008, 9, literally my wife and I got our rear ends handed to us. As the economy blew up, went down. Same thing's going to happen in late September, early October of this year, but it won't take us forever to get it turned back around and refixed in 2025, but it's coming. And then in 2000 and at the end of 2009 is when I was like, okay, I'm going to start my own thing. And I teamed up with a guy who played professional hockey, and we created a performance mouthpiece and kind of went from there. I had them buy me out in 2016 and ended up buying the company back in 2021. But at the same time, ended up expanding the brand and building some other companies at the same time. So yeah, it's been a blessing, to say the least.
I'm really curious. You talked about making that shift of not thinking about the money anymore. It's not being about the money. It's about making that impact, solving those problems, those kind of things. How do you personally account for that? Because I think there's this really interesting thing with entrepreneurship where even if you are all about the impact, we still kind of measure ourselves by the dollar sign because I made $10 million impact or I did this and the business got this big. And even if you are focusing on the solving the problems, the measuring stick is kind of the money sometimes. How did you flip that mindset?
I'd always chased the money and, that's kind of where it was just, there's another opportunity. I'm going to, more pay. And, I was always chasing that brass ring, but, something happens when you die 4 times and they don't expect you to live. And then you get to come out of that. And, just realized there's more to life. And my kids, like I said, my oldest was 5, my youngest was 2. And it was just, for me personally, like I could care less about money at this point. I'm going to enjoy my life. And just by the grace of God, I mean, the blessings he's given us, it's not all easy, but what I realize in life, if you focus on doing the right thing and helping people, the money always comes, and it always has for us. And entrepreneurship is, there's a reason why a lot of people aren't entrepreneurs because it's really, really tough and it's hard. And you have unbelievable great days and you have unbelievable bad days and ups and downs and arounds. And, over the last 16 years of being an entrepreneur now, I guess the easiest thing for me on how to get through it is, I've been through it so much that when you get a win, great, high five, but let's get back to work. When you get a loss, great, high five, let's get back to work. I don't get too excited about the wins. I don't worry about the losses. I just kind of stay steady Eddie and, stay disciplined and focused to what, I have to achieve on a daily basis, regardless of, what's going on. And again, there's like anything, there's times in my life when, you go through a stretch of just greatness and then you go through a stretch of like, oh my God, like it's just a rear end kicking. But, it still surprises my wife to this day that, for 16 years, we put, kids through private school, college, all the above, and, have been just fine. She's more of probably like a lot of men's wives out there. Like, I like the 2 week guaranteed. I know what you're making. I know what we're doing. And, so it's probably the biggest transition for me was her in understanding that, it's just the way it is when you're an entrepreneur, and I always feel like in as an entrepreneur and in life general, climb Everest, you think that's the mountain you got to get. And then you climb it and you achieve it. And then you get up to that and you go, wow, well, wait a minute, look, there's even higher peaks over there and there and there and there. But what do you got to do? You got to go back down Everest. Hopefully you survive going back down, cross over the valley, and then start inclining up the other mountain. And that's kind of entrepreneurship, honestly, in life at its best, I think, is the best way to sum it up, is that, you think you want to get to a certain level and then you achieve it. And then you realize that, wait a minute, there's all these up here too. But again, it's not, you can't just jump from one to the other. It's usually a back down and back up. And, but I kind of like those times too, because, when you're going through those times, it just God's preparing you for something greater and better. And, and he's putting you through the, test of your faith and everything else. And as an entrepreneur, I promise you, if you don't have faith, don't stay working for somebody, because this is not a job for somebody who doesn't have faith in a bigger plan that God got for you.
Yeah, that every 2 weeks, that's a lot easier to rely on and believe in, right?
I tell people all the time, the easiest job I ever had in my life was being in corporate.
Yeah, because that paid.
People complain about, my job. Well, then go do your own deal, because you'll realize that you'll be probably glad you get those 2 weeks off. And that was the other thing for me. It's just, life is short. I realized that, and it could be, again, tomorrow's not promised anyway. So it was like, I'm going to get the most out of this life, all in. I'm going to have a great time. I'm not going to focus on chasing a dollar. I'm going to focus on, putting out products that actually help people with their lives, help them change their lives for the better. And like I said, the money always ends up showing up regardless.
Let's unpack that a little bit, because I think that's a really important piece that everybody talks about. If you focus on helping people, it will come around. And how you balance that, or manage that is a better way of putting it. Manage that with business actions and family actions, and oh, by the way, taking care of yourself too, because that's an important piece also.
Yeah, it's not easy. Even in the corporate world, when I was again VP over sales, I was the last person on the stop when we were hiring somebody new, and my only question was to them, are you here to make money, or are you here to help people? And that's pretty tricky question when you're sitting in front of the VP of sales, hoping that you get a job.
Yeah.
Which one does this guy really want me to do? Does he want me to make a lot of money, or is he want me to help people? Like, which one? What people don't realize is, if you're there to help people, the money always comes. You'll probably end up making more than what I would consider, seasoned sales guys that come in that's going to try to, cheat the system just to hurry and push people in a program they probably don't need, just to get that sale. But those people never stay in that program. The people who always took time to help the individual with their problems to get them into the program, those people always finish the program. So it was a little bit of a trick question, but on the same side, I just want to kind of know, what that individual is really looking for. And same thing for me personally with when I left, a mentor friend of mine was like, TK, you already have everything everybody wants. You have all these unbelievable relationships with pro sport athletes, celebrities, all these influencers. And literally probably about 90 days after I left the mobile home, after I had my accident, when I went into corporate world, probably 90 days later is when I met my first athlete. And that was in early 2001. So I've been working with pro athletes and celebrities since 2001 as well, off to the side, helping them, not making any money off of them. Just, again, I just appreciate the relationship with these guys and girls that we've been able to build over the years. And if I can help somebody with my contacts, I will, and let's move on. But so with that growing at the same time that everything else has been going and growing, when I decided to leave the corporate world, start looking at what can I do, that's when a mentor friend of mine, said, hey, you have all these people. What you need to figure out is, what genre do you want to be in the world of, creating your own company.
Mm.
And I've always been a sports guy. I've always been focused on health and wellness. And that's where we started with, performance mouthpieces. And, we have the U.S. military wearing them. The special op guys, we probably have over, probably easily 300-400 pro athletes around the world wearing them. And they're really not even out to the public yet because we're still doing some studies with the U.S. Air Force Academy, some IRB approved studies. With this administration, a lot of that's been put on hold because of budgets and everything else and timelines. But we'll get back to that beginning of 2025 with the Academy. But it was, I would just want to do something fun that I would wake up every day with a passion of, like I can't wait to get out of bed and get to it. And, that's what we started creating, CBD brand. We created a, vitamin sprays to help people get more out of their vitamins and their intake, and a patriotic apparel just for fun, just to piss a lot of people off, honestly. It's the reason why we created the patriotic apparel brand, but it's been doing phenomenal and couldn't have had a better relaunch. We literally was relaunching on the Monday after actually Trump's assassination attempt. So Saturday, Trump assassination attempt, and we created a brand in 2020 that says Trump Lives, and it's a 45lives.com. Mm. And we relaunched it on that Monday, and it was just kind of it wasn't really planned on, obviously, going, let's wait till they try to assassinate Trump and reboot this thing. We already had the date, but then everybody's like, oh my God, are you guys like The Simpsons? How did you know? How did you get Trump's Lives? How did you get to 45lives.com? And it's like, dude, we started that in 2020, did really well with it in 2020 during COVID. But then supply chain, after we sold out of everything, the supply chain issues came in effect, and we couldn't get any apparel in from Vietnam or overseas. And we're like, you know what, we'll just shelf it. We'll come back to it in 2024 when the election starts getting high and, everything starts kind of getting down to the last 90, 120 days. We'll relaunch it then and get it out there. And so it was just, again, a blessing. Number one, President Trump survived. A blessing number two, that we already had it. And it was already rolling out on the Monday after. So, my thing is just in life, life is but a dream anyway, right? And it's kind of like, what else? What else can we do? I just don't feel like there's nothing I can achieve. I just feel like there's things that I haven't, really haven't really smacked me up beside my head yet to go, hey, let's go do this. And that's the other thing in entrepreneurship. You better be willing to take a lot of risk because you're going to have a lot. You see that little meme of an iceberg, right, on where it says success, and just a little bit of success is sticking out of the water, and everything else that, got you to that is underneath the water. And, that's true to life. It's, again, Michael Jordan, you look at how many times he got beat, didn't make the play, got beat in the playoffs, didn't make it to the semifinals. And then all of a sudden he started winning championships, and everybody act like, Jordan just showed up and he was successful. And it's like, man, he took a beating before he even won that first championship. But once he won the first championship, the mindset was, now we expect to win because we've already done it once. And that's kind of where I am in my life. I expect it because I've already been there and done it. So I don't sit around and wait and go, well, maybe I can. No, I expect to win. And the other thing with my faith is, I wake up every day with great expectations. I still have the same God of Moses and Abraham and Isaac and King David and all, and obviously Jesus. And, I'm going, why would my dad not take care of me as much as he'd take care of them? So I wake up every day with great expectations, and probably my biggest problem is just overloading myself. Just because there's, number one, distractions, opportunities, right? So I have to be very careful on and selective on what I do get involved with. I don't spread myself too thin. That's probably my biggest problem.
I think there's an interesting thing, and I got to say the joke version of it first because it's just too funny to me. As we're going through talking about this, and the trying to serve people, doing the right thing, helping people versus making the money, and then it's like but I got this whole life out here. I got the wife, I got the kids on the way. I got all this stuff over here that I got to take care of. And it's like, if I could just put my head down and keep going, that's like, I know I would get there. But you kind of have this balance of like, there is the real world around you. You have to keep the lights on, all that kind of stuff. I'd be curious, what your process was of trying to find that balance. Because, the other kind of joke version of it, I'm thinking, is like, you weren't giving the mouth guards away for free. You're not just helping people, you are still building the business. And I think that middle ground is
honestly, that's probably my other problem. We do give too much away for free. Because I do care. People will call me and go, "Hey, TK," and pro athletes don't pay for those products. Because people always give pro athletes stuff for free. And when all your friends are pro athletes, and most of it was R&D. Honestly, we did give a lot away to the military, to everybody. Probably, I don't know. We probably gave our first couple of thousand away, just because we wanted to really test a product and see it, but. The biggest thing for me is something I've always learned. I've gone through a lot of adversity in my life, and but then when I look back, it's like birthing pains too, right? You feel like it's the end while you're in the middle of it, but then you look back, and you go, it wasn't really that bad. And kind of like I've told my wife, she hates the phrase "don't worry about it." She'd be like, "Hey, we got to do X, Y, Z." It's like, "Don't worry about it."
And
it
she
drives
says,
her nuts.
"That's my job."
She's like, "I am worried about it. Like, I need to know. Like, what are we going to go? I don't know. Don't worry about it. It'd be okay." And that's kind of my thing is, I can take my energy that God's given me on a daily basis, and I can go focus on negative, or I can focus on positive. And, the negative side is, okay, I do have bills to pay. I got this to pay. I got this I got to do. I've got all these things that I feel like are immediate, but if I don't have a solution for it at that time, then I'm not worrying about it because I don't have a solution for it anyway. So I have to take that energy and redirect it into something positive that can help me overcome what I'm trying to accomplish with whatever goals it is at that point. So it's like, okay, go get focused on what you can do today to make a difference, to maybe help, to do whatever, and to solve your own problems, right? And that's why I tell everybody, like, man, everything starts and ends with us personally. If there's something not good in my life, it started with me. So I got to fix it if there's something great going on in my life, it started with me, and I've got to make sure I don't mess it up. So it's always everything that anybody's dealing with. It always starts and ends with you. And there are some things out of control right now, right? Like I was just literally telling my wife this morning, like, thank God we're not on a structured income right now. Corporate structured income right now, because all the prices and everything are going up, but I know people's pay aren't going up, and I know how it is for us and what we spend in groceries and everything else. And I just think to myself, like, man, if you're not making 100 to 150 minimum, you're really struggling. And there's a lot of people not making that. And a lot of people that are making that are struggling.
Yeah.
And so for me personally, I don't want to be boxed in. And I've always been that kid. My wife's like, you are the worst when it comes to, I don't know how you were in the Air Force. You hate authority. You resent authority. And I said, I don't resent authority. I just don't like people telling me what to do. So the reality is I've just always been that kid that's been like, man, the expectations of me aren't that high anyway, so I don't have anything to lose. And even today, I look at the same thing, like, the only one that is really that I could depend on is me. And again, I've got great business partners. I've surrounded myself with great people. Don't get me wrong, I don't do everything by myself. When I started creating my own companies, I made a list of everything that I'm really good at, and I made a list of everything I really am bad at and suck at. And what I said is, okay, I don't need another TK. I need somebody who's really good at all this stuff I suck at. And I was very fortunate to find a partner in Karan Rajmahendari, Raj. He loves doing everything I hate and hates everything that I do. And so it's a perfect match for both of us. And he's built companies, sold companies. So it's been a, really good combination of people. And it took me a little while to actually learn that, the first mouthpiece company we did, my partner and I were the same. We were both great at all this stuff. We weren't real good at this stuff. And so when it came to, pulling each other down the punch bowl, we'd get each other excited about stuff, but really not really tuned in to what we need to be looking at. And so again, everything's a learning experience. That's the other thing I tell people. A lot of people ask about my success, and I go, honestly, a lot of it's because of the failure.
TK,
I've
let's
had great
jump.
failure. I've just had great failure in life, but I just refuse to quit. I'm just a knucklehead that is just too hard headed just to go, well, I'm just going to give up at this point.
Well,
No, I just you go, okay, what else?
I'd love to understand or help. Maybe you could share your decision process, because you just, especially since you just touched on this, too hard headed to quit, but you sold a business. So
Mm-hmm.
how did that, in that mindset of I'm too hard headed to quit, which means, I'm going to replace Amazon with mouth guards, in that sort of mindset, how did you make that decision?
Well, I mean, it was calculated. I mean, you start looking at the runway, right, on the pros and cons, and how much runway do we have here? And with the first company, the mouthpieces where I think we got them down to like $1,800 because they're custom fitted orthotics. When I first got into this and helping a couple mouthpiece companies, a couple of dentists, fit pro athletes, they were $5,000 orthotics. So my partner and I thought we were doing really good by getting it to 1,800. And then I was like, man, these are still too expensive. We need to get them down, around 700-800. But we also need to create a retail mouthpiece that people can buy that would do what this does. Doesn't have to be super custom fitted. Would just do what this does for less than 50. And he didn't want to do that. And I said, great, buy me out.
Hmm.
And then when I bought that company back, when I bought my mouthpiece company back, technology had sped up in the last 5 years. And with the dental lab we have, we were able to do things more efficiently than what we were doing from 2010 to 2016. And so when I got it back in 2021, there's a lot of technological advances in the dentistry market that actually helped us get the product down to, I think it's $6.99 on our website. But if you put your email in, you get 50% off. So really it's $350 product. And you couldn't get that at a dentist for anywhere close to that. I mean, again, dentists are charging $750 to, $1,500, for a night guard, or, even a just suck down mouthpiece that isn't actually going to do what ours does. It will protect your teeth, but doesn't help with the performance or the oxygen intake. So, a lot of it is just patience too. That's the other side of things. And I have zero patience. And because of being an entrepreneur, God has taught me patience. Because really, as an entrepreneur, that's all you have is your faith and patience and just waiting it out. But again, if you can just wait it out, usually the problem will solve itself. And it's just being disciplined in everything you do, right? Like I don't like getting up every morning working out. I'll be 54 this year, and it's just kind of getting to a thing like the competitive edge in me is like, okay, well, I'm not really playing any sports anymore. I'm not doing anything anymore. Like, what's the use here, right? But the use is the competitiveness within myself to keep myself the best I can keep myself. And I say this after I ate like a whole thing of big jar of M&Ms thing from Costco pretty much the last week. But again, I still definitely cheat on my diet, but at the same time, it's like, it's just doing those small things every single day over and over and over and over and over is what is actually going to get you to the finish line. A lot of people don't want to put the work in, honestly. It's hard. It's, I tell people like success is difficult because it's a lot of hard work, a lot of discipline, and a lot of sacrifice. And to really be successful in life, you have to have all those things. And a lot of people aren't willing to give it up. And that's, it brings me back to another thing that, I saw, I don't know, online, social media somewhere, a pastor was saying, if you ask God for something and God said, okay, I'm going to give it to you, but you're going to have to go through all this to get there. Most people will be like, I'm out. I'm good. I don't want it. And that it couldn't be farther from the truth. I mean, it's perfect. It's spot on to the truth of what it is. And, when I talk to my pastor, my hometown pastor from when I grew up, we still talk all the time. I'll be like, man, just waiting on, like, I don't know what's going on with God here while he's holding up. And then he always kind of chuckles, what'd you pray for? And then when I tell him, he's like, yeah, it takes a little bit more than just asking for God to help you with your electricity bill or find a job, or, when you want to be a multi-billion-dollar brand, it's going to take a little while, and God's going to make sure that you're going to go through it and you're going to be ready for it. That he's not just going to give it to you. You got to earn it. Right. And just like parents with our kids when they're growing up with chores, right? Like I want to buy you that toy, but I know if I just give you that toy, you're not going to appreciate it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's do some chores and you do the X and we'll go get that toy, right? God's the same way in our lives on what we do. You're like, you got to put the work in and show me you're willing to make the sacrifice. You're going to stay faithful. You're going to continue to believe while you're going through all these treacherous waters and times. But if you stay faithful and you continue to believe, I'll get you to the other side of the lake. And that's kind of where it is. But it's not easy.
What's your process for recognizing when you need to, whether, you probably wouldn't use the word patience, maybe stay determined rather than be patient might be a better way to phrase that one for you. But versus the pivot inside of the business of like, hey, this thing isn't quite working. Do I need to keep pushing on it, or is it time to make one of those pivots? What's your process there?
There's a lot of things I look at, like our CBD brand. When CBD became legal in 2019, it was very hard to get a merchant account because Big Farm and, they didn't want CBD to be legalized. But we finally got one. We had it for 3.5 years. And then when the new administration came in, the big banks started coming and going, okay, we're not carrying a merchant account no more for CBD. And so, literally after 3 years, no issues, we get an email from our bank saying, hey, we love you guys, but basically we can no longer be your merchant account for this brand because it's an at-risk, is the way they put it, right? And then we couldn't really find anybody. And, when my partner was in a little bit of a panic, like, oh my God, we're going to lose this much money a month. I'm like, you know what? No big deal. Shelf it. We'll come back to it in 2025 when Trump comes back. He'll get all that fixed, turned around. I already know. So let's just shelf it. Let's don't spend no more time and energy. I think we spent probably 90 days. Everybody, oh yeah, we'll get you approved. And well, you're CBD. Dude, you knew that on the front end. Like you just wasted a bunch of our time, and it was finally like, look, nobody's going to be able to do it. And, other people are like, well, say you're doing XYZ and, just running that. Nope, we're not going to lie. We'll wait. And sometimes it just comes to like, okay, just shelf it. We'll come back to it. We already have, the buyers, the database, the who, what, when, and where. We'll come back to it. And actually all of our buyers that I sent them to another veteran company. Again, he just does his merchant account a little bit different, but he's able to supply everybody with their CBD. And it was like, hey, we'll just send them to you guys for now. And if we decide to come back to it, we will. If not, there you go. We'll help you guys too with your brand. But it's always, but if we were only CBD, we'd be out of business. We'd been done. That's what I learned probably over my, career is, to be flexible and to have a lot of opportunities and different avenues you can go down. So when that went down, great, we'll pivot over to the sprays and put all of our focus on our sprays. And now the sprays are doing great. Now let's go ahead and get the apparel going again, because now it's the time to start hitting the patriotic Trump live stuff. Let's go down that path. The mouthpieces, we haven't really brought them, if you know about them, you know about them. If you don't, you just don't. Most of my pro athletes do. I just had one of the female championship UFC champions hit me this morning telling me she needs another one. And that her other one's kind of getting worn down. And she asked if she can get another one. She has a fight October 5th. At the same time, she's telling us she can't come play in our celebrity game this year, obviously, because she got to fight October 5th. But, she's the world champ right now. And but again, we don't really market the mouthpiece because we can't scale right now to the extent of what we would if people really wanted them. And so we are looking at new technologies. There's a 3D technology where we can make them through a 3D machine. We can do about 10,000 of them a month. But the bigger thing with the 3D machine right now is we can't get the material really to match. You have an EVA and it's kind of a hard plastic, not the soft EVA the way we have it. And it's like, yeah, we're not ready for that then right now. So, and again, we want to get a lot of our studies and research things done before we come to market. And, and again, that requires a lot of patience too, because when you have a product that every single person that wears it loves it. Again, our special operation guys from 75th Ranger Regiment to Navy SEALs to MARSOC guys that are going, hey, this is one of the best products I've ever had. There's a market for it. But again, you just got to make sure that, all the pieces of the puzzle are ready to go before you go after it, I guess. So it does take a lot of patience and a lot of time to really sit back and look at things. But on the other side, part of the patience is knowing when to say when and not trying to drive that, square peg through the round hole just because I want it, because I want it sooner than what it's going to be. So you just have to kind of just really look at all the alternatives and, everything in the equation to see if it's going to work.
Let's chat.
Have you given up? Sorry, Dad, I got to follow up before you shift gears. Have you left any ideas? Because I think what I'm hearing from you is something that I joked about on the show, which is I still have this stack of ideas, and I'm like, ooh, one day.
There's a ton of them that, if you look at the Verve business deck, there's a bunch of, to be determined when we're going to start rolling things out. That's the funnest thing for me is not, first of all, like a lot of people, the way you define success, a lot of people do it by bank accounts. And I don't. I define success on your quality of life. What's your quality of life? I know people that are billionaires that are unhappy and that are friends of mine. I laugh at them going, let me share some of that, stress with you. Give me like 500 million and I'll help burden it for you. Right. And they kind of start laughing. It's kind of like, man, what are you being? I can't tell you what I tell them, like really, like you're a crybaby, dude. You're worth $1 billion and you're like crying. Woe is me. Like if I had $1 billion, you'd be like, whatever happened to TK? Because I'm gone. I'm retired. I'm going to go enjoy my family. And that's what I do all this for is my family. But, again, tomorrow's not promised. Why would I waste it at a corporate job that will replace me the minute I'm gone? If I'm at a corporate job and I die tomorrow, they're like, oh man, we lost TK. Well, put the ad out, right? And somebody else is in my chair immediately. And I get it. And that's how it works in the corporate world. So you know what? Why not take my own risk and do it on my own and get to where I need to be? But yeah, at the end of the day, it's just literally, how much can you stomach? Because it is a rear end kicking every single day. But again, I love the competition personally. I love the kind of competition against it. And, most people are expecting you to fail. And I guess that's kind of my Michael Jordan drive when you think everybody's kind of going, oh, he's got all these companies, but he's not worth X yet. And it's like, but again, I got these companies. So I would take that as a success of just having enough balls to step off the ledge and go, I'm doing it regardless. Mm-hmm. A lot of people won't take that risk. And I think there's so much, I think the biggest thing in this world that is probably the biggest disappointment is the talent that God gives us that goes unused because so many people won't take the chance and believe in themselves. So they'll just be paycheck players for their life and, take their 2 weeks off every year. And I'm not bashing anybody who does it because, I'll be hiring you one day myself so you can help me finish making my dreams come true. But, that's just what it is. I mean, successful people, that's why you don't see, it's hard to find a lot of them because most people just won't take the risk and can't stomach the craziness in between.
That was what I wanted to talk about because one of the things that you've done in your entrepreneur journey is step into something you're not an expert on. And there's a belief, and I was talking with a fellow veteran yesterday on thoughts and ideas as an entrepreneur, and he was like, holy crap, I didn't even know I could do that. I was like, yeah. But how did you build a team into something that, I mean, you're not a dentist, you're not an orthodontist, you're not a pharmacist. I mean, you're in business areas that you've learned by doing, which is great, but there's no PhD or doctor around your name.
No, I actually grew up a street guy, and you know what? I learned early in life, honestly, because I was lazy growing up. I tell people all the time, if there wasn't for sports and girls, I'd probably dropped out of school in the 5th grade. Sports and girls is the only thing kept me in school. I didn't like studying. School was boring. I just didn't like it. And so I would cheat, honestly. Like, just give me your homework. I don't really care, like, who XYZ is. I'll just cheat. And I did. And then, but that's frowned upon. So a few times I did get caught cheating, it's frowned upon. So we're always told cheating is a bad thing, and cheating is, you're lesser than for cheating. But then you get in the real world, and then that's really how you become successful, is by cheating. Because, like, I don't need to figure out how this wheel works, how to make it, how it spins. Okay, it rolls. I get it. How do I get to that? Right. So what I did after the first company that I had buy me out is I started deep diving into, again, with the internet, with YouTube channels, with, all the exposure we have nowadays. I don't have to go to a library and read it. I can just watch it on what I want to watch. So I would just start, if there's something I want to do, who in that field has done it, who's the best at it, let me go see what they did, how they did it, and I'm going to copy them. And I'm going to mimic what they did to get to where I want to be. And so the reality is, what's frowned upon in school, and I get it, you kind of need to be there to learn on your own. I probably learned more out of school than I ever have in school, to be honest with you. And I think to a certain extent, the way our education system is, it puts you in a box. I had one semester of college while I was in the Air Force, made a 4.0. I was like, this is a freaking joke. It's wasting my time. And it's cutting into my softball time, so I'm out of this deal. And the only reason why I was going to go to Southeast Missouri State wasn't to study. It was to go play football with my little brother and all his buddies that I'd gotten to know. And he had just finished his sophomore year, I think, in college, and was had finished as an All-American safety. And so I was like, I'm just going to go have fun and, again, chase girls and play football. And my buddy was like, Klund boy, you're going to last one semester in school. You're going to be on a football team, but then you're going to get kicked out because you ain't going to put the work in. What got me putting work in is results. Results I could see, aka the bank account. And when I started selling manufactured homes, my first 6 months in manufactured homes in '95, I think I made $72,000. When I left the Air Force, I think I made $14,000 a year. And so the greed factor and also the patting on the back that you're the number one guy motivated me to even do more and better. And, everybody tells me, you're not going to be able to do this. And then you go, well, I'm going for it. And then end up you doing it. Right. And that just kind of, again, in my life, sometimes it's kind of really good to be the underdog because you really don't have a lot to lose. And, you can go for it a little bit more than the people who, put the work in and done things the correct way of, I was great in high school and I did great in college. And one guy changed my life in 2007. Two things changed my life. I'll make it quick for you guys. Number one, my accident. I was having a woe me moment in my hospital room with my mom before they redid my face. I still had to wait for the swelling to get down. And, and I just got off the phone with my regional VP. And, they're like, oh, don't worry about your job. We got you. We love you. Da, 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 da. And I hung up the phone with him in the hospital room. And I told my mom, like, one of two things is going to happen. I'm going to get demoted because I can't do my job right now. I got to wait. I don't know when I'm going to be able to even, go do anything. I mean, at that point, I look like the dude from the Goonies. Not the pretty ones either. Sloth, whatever his name was. So I was like, either I'm going to have to get relocated to be a district manager, or I'm going to have to go back to the lot level. And I don't want to go back to the lot. And my mom, of all people, she was sitting in her chair and she was reading one of her little romance novel paperback books. And she put it down and she said, I would think they would be more worried about losing you than you should be worried about losing them. Because I didn't realize how much money you were making, how well you were doing. So I think they should be probably more worried than you should be. And that was the first time really, right about 5 days before I turned 30 years old, that I realized, like, hey, wait a minute, I have value. And I'm pretty good. And then 2007, that was my mom. And then 2007,
or because I'm just curious where that.
Yeah, that's why it caught me off guard, because she was a lady who, started a job at 18, retired at 65, at the same desk, same typewriter, same everything, right? So she was one of the people that was always like, I can't believe you left that job. You're going to take this other. Oh my God, you're doing so good there. But she didn't see the upward climb. She was like, you got a good job. You should stay there forever. And I realized like, hey, nothing's forever in this corporate world. Or industries too. That's the other thing I learned in manufactured homes, because, at the end of right after I had my accident, manufactured homes were going downhill. It's very hard to buy a manufactured home, very hard to place a manufactured home. A lot of states were requiring that it had to be put on land. You couldn't put it in a park. I mean, just so many regulations, right? So, I knew that like, okay, this is probably a wrap anyway on the manufactured home side. And then in 2000, when I went into corporate America, I was in corporate America, but again, I was retail. I don't count corporate America. I was in on the last part. It wasn't retail, so it was a lot easier. But in 2007, the shareholders let. He actually worked for me. He was the vice president of customer service, and he's 55 years old. And I was 36 at the time, and I was executive VP, but I was over sales and then over everybody else. I mean, I honestly only answered to the shareholders and CEO, and most of the time just shareholders. But when they let him go, I was so infuriated that they let him go. And, he wasn't going out quietly. And I went in to calm him down. And this was in 2007. I was like mid 2007. And I was like, man, you're a stud. You're not going to have any. He's probably making 125 a year, 130. And I was like, you're a stud. He had his bachelor's, master's, all the above. And when I was trying to calm him down, he's like, listen to me. I have done every single thing in my life I've been told to do. I've graduated, taught my class in high school. I got a scholarship, went to college. I got my bachelor's. I got married, started having a family, got in the corporate world, went and finished my master's. I've checked every single box, TK, at this corporate level, and I'm out. What do I have to show for it? He goes, I've missed my kids' birthdays. I missed family events. I have missed, he's explained all this to me. And he was like, little brother, do not let this happen to you. You have way too, and I was working with professional athletes and stuff at the same time. And so I kind of had a bunch of other stuff going on while I was in the corporate world. Corporate world for me was really easy, actually, because it was just once the process was in place, it was just sticking to the structured process, right? So corporate world was like, almost boring. It was so easy making money in doing that. And it almost got boring, honestly. And but when he told me that was the second big awakening in my life. My mom was the first, because I never held myself to a higher standard, because it was like I didn't do very well in high school. I did, but I didn't. I thought I was not as smart as I was. I'm really actually super smart, just not boring book smart. Right. Now, I don't even like to read, but if you give me a book and it catches my attention quickly, like I just finished reading David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me book, like it grabbed my attention and I loved it. I enjoyed reading it. There's another book, Project 369, which deals in frequencies and manifestation and all the above. I love it. But you give me another book, I might be like, oh my God, I can't read this. And it's my attention span. So it just depends on me. But again, I learned between those two conversations that, wait a minute, I do have some value here, and I am kind of special. And I remember Big Brothers Big Sisters offered me a CEO position in LA, and I went out and interviewed for it in 2009 while I was still looking for something, because I couldn't find anything to save my life. And I was Big Brother of the Year here in Dallas in 2004, the Horizon Big Brother Year 2000, 2 years and under Big Brother Year. But one of my buddies I became really good friends with was the CEO of DFW, then became CEO of the National. And he called me. He's like, listen, they're going to offer you, but there's a catch. Okay, what's the catch? He goes, you can work out there, come home every weekend if you want, whatever. We'll take care of all that. Okay, what's the catch? Well, you got to go back to college because you don't have a degree. Everybody in Big Brother Big Sisters has a degree that we hire. And I was like, I don't want to tell you what I said, but it's pretty much like, is this an effing joke? Because do you want me to run an organization, or do you want me to be a college student? Because I can't do both. Mm-hmm. And I'm not about to lie. He's like, just tell them you're going to do it, take a class, and then just go be you. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. There's no way I'm doing it. And, my wife was going, they're going to pay you X, like you're doing it. And I was like, I'm not doing it because it's going to be not truthful. I could tell them what they want to hear, slide into that position and then not do it, but I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not doing it. And, that's the thing with corporations nowadays that they don't get. They miss so many good people out there because they think you got to check all the boxes. And my thing is, if you're a good corporate, you should be able to take anybody, whether they've got a junior high diploma, a high school diploma, a college, and you should be able to make them great. The other one thing I'll tell you, I don't want to forget this, that is important. And when I was 31, when I just took over my VP spot, I was doing a charity celebrity game, and Joe DePinto, the CEO of 7-Eleven, West Point graduate, was throwing out the first pitch. And we had helped get the Window Warrior amputee softball team off the ground, and that's who it was. That's the charity event we were doing. I think they were playing firemen and policemen or something. I can't remember. And we were there, and I got a chance to talk to Joe DePinto and in the dugout. And he was like, "Oh, so you're Air Force veteran?" "Yes, sir." "And I'm an Army veteran." "Okay." And okay, Joe DePinto, who cares? Like, I don't know who the guy is. And so he was like, "Well, what do you do?" And, kind of proudly at 31, I had my chest probably puffed out, "Oh, I'm a vice president of this company, da, da, da." "Oh, yeah, how many people do you have work for you?" And I go, "Well, I have probably about 150 underneath me." He goes, "Oh, you have 150 that work for you?" I was like, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." "Okay, but they all work for you." He kept on saying that, and I was like, probably about the third time I started going, what am I missing here? And I go, well, maybe they don't work for me, right? And Joey D was like, "Can I give you some advice?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, being the CEO of 7-Eleven," and then I'm like, "What?" Thinking to myself, "What?" He says, "Every day when I'm on my way to work, I have to figure out how I'm going to make 45,000 plus successful." He goes, they don't work for you. You work for those 150 people. Your job is every single day is, how do I make these 150 people successful? That's your job." And he goes, the higher you go up the ladder, the harder it is, because you have the top bearing down on you and you have the bottom bearing up on you. And the more you can help the bottom, the more the top's going to love you. And that was when all that kind of came into focus and pictured me like, oh, okay, so if I just make everybody below me successful and they're killing it, my numbers are going to be through the roof, which means my shareholders are going to love me. And that's exactly what happened. And but it's probably the best piece of advice, because I think so many people, when they do get into a position of authority, a manager position, their mindset is, that these people work for me, and then they manage by the fear factor.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do your job, you're going to get fired, which they don't realize that is just counterintuitive on what you're actually trying to accomplish. And what you do is, when your people know you're actually working for them and you're doing everything you can to make sure they're bringing home every penny they can, the loyalty builds in, and then, man, you have no turnover, because everybody loves working for you, and everybody's putting out a lot of effort to help you win just as much as you're helping them. That's the thing people, I think, miss it, especially in the military too. Everybody has dealt with those, no offense to you, Colonel, those douchebag, higher enlisted or officers that get in and go, "Oh, I'm this guy, and I'm, da, 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 da," and everybody hates them.
Yeah.
Behind their back, everybody hates them. And then you get the guys that come in, the colonels and the squadron commanders and your higher enlisted, that do everything they can to help the lower enlisted and the lower officers as they come in, and really mentor them and help them go and grow. And man, they're the best of the best. But it took Joe DePinto to tell me that, to really go, man, it really clicked with me. And I still feel like that today. Like, people are like, "Oh, you work for yourself. That's really cool." And I'm like, "Oh, it's actually really, really hard, but I don't work for myself." Every person out there, and every single person out there that can buy our products, that's who I work for. Yeah. I actually work for those people. Oh, wow. So I have to make sure that every single product they buy from us is the best that it could be for their investment in that product, and they get a great ROI. Yeah, right.
That is such a great way to wrap up for a leadership podcast with that lesson and reminder. That's so important, that as the leader, your job, though people don't work for you, you work for them to help them be successful. And along with that, what I learned is, as a reminder, because that's the way I look at it, is that doing the right thing and helping people is what it all comes down to. So very simple, and a great reminder for all of us to to always do that, do the right thing, and help people. Camden, how about you?
Well, when things would get tough on me in the corporate world, and I'd go, well, at least I don't have 45,000 people I got to deal with, right? I've only got 150. So it would always make it a little bit better on my drive in, going, well, I've only got 150 I got to deal with. I don't have 45,000 like Joe DePinto does. And,
all perspective.
I mean, he's such a stellar guy. And, it's always the perspective, right? I mean, again, when things are tough, you can focus on those, and you're probably not going to get very far. You go, you know what? I get it. Let me shelf it. I'll come back to it when I have a solution for it. Let me go take this energy and use it for something good today and something positive, and stay in that mindset. Because, again, a lot of times, even through the manifestation, everything's energy and frequencies and vibrations. Mm-hmm. And, when you're positive and you have a high energy frequency going on, great things just attract to you. Yeah. But it's just the opposite of when you have a high frequency of negative going on. It's like the cloud never leaves it's always raining on you. And there's probably people like that is always having their whole life is just, I got this. You talk to somebody.
How the hell you get in that position?
We all have the, right? We all have the, like, give me something positive. I don't want to hear the, we all have the, like, I could sit here and complain on 100 things that, probably is not perfect for me right now, but that's the reality. That's life. It's not going to be perfect. Nothing is. So you just make the best of it, what you got, and you enjoy your day that God's giving you. And, and I tell people this too. One last thing. This is another really, as you guys see, I cheat. I just listen to people. People give me good things. I just suck it in and I use those things. A veteran friend of mine called me probably about 2 years ago, and he's the guy that has a cloud always over his head, right? He's that guy. He calls me and, he tells me his problems, but at the same time, he starts giving me the solutions to his problems, if that makes sense. So really all I need to do is just listen and go, yep. But what he hit me with at the very end, he goes, TK, I guess at the end of the day, I just need to thank God for the day I have. And I probably need to just focus on, from the time I open my eyes to the time I close my eyes, enjoying today and not worrying about tomorrow. Because where he was getting off track is he's worried about everything. He's worried about tomorrow, next week, a month, 6 months. And what he's doing by doing that, he's missing today.
Yep.
And then I started thinking about how much of today do I lose because my focus is on tomorrow, next day, a week from now, a month from now, whatever. And I get it. We all have goals. We all have deadlines. We have things we have to accomplish. But you're not going to accomplish tomorrow's goals today. You're not going to get a month from now today. But if you focus on today, from the time you open your eyes to the time you close your eyes, and you put all your energy, all your positive and good energy in those 18 hours that you're awake, however long it is, and then you go to sleep, and you do that every single day when you wake up, all of a sudden things are going to just start falling in place. And that really has happened for me personally, because it's just like all of a sudden, all the craziness and all the stuff in between my ears that I couldn't control, these thoughts of worrying about X, Y, Z, I have no control over. Once I got those out of my head and focus on today, on what am I doing now, what I got to do here in an hour. Okay, we're focusing and enjoying today. Man, it's been so much more simplistic. And again, I figured that out at 52, and I'm just almost mad at myself like that. Somebody didn't tell me that back when I was in high school. Right. Yeah. So when I go back and talk about our high school football team every year, we have that conversation, right? Yeah. Like, yes, you got a game Friday or tomorrow night, but you don't need to focus from here to there.
Yeah.
Right. That needs all your energy, all your everything goes into that. From the time you open your eyes to the time you close your eyes, do that daily, stay on track, and you'll be just fine.
Awesome. Camden, what'd you learn?
Yeah, for me, and TK kind of reiterated it there, but the idea of just shelf it, whether it's the business idea that it's like, hey, maybe I'll get back to that, maybe the time will be right and I'll see the opportunity, or in other aspects of life, we've joked about on just about every show. I'm looking out here at my shed, Dad, and I remember last night having a conversation with Miss Jessica about some baby thing, and I was like, sweetheart, I'm going to dive all in this in 2 months when I'm done with the shed and I'm done with this and I'm done. And it's like, hey, we got time. I'm putting that there. We're going to shelf that for a little bit. And when time comes, I'm going to dive all in and I'm going to be 100% into that. But it's like right now, I got this to do. I got this to do. And so just whether it's business or in life, just recognizing when you need to do things, I think is so important, and not being scared to put things on the shelf for a little bit and making sure you get back to that shelf, I think is a big key there too.
Yeah.
Awesome. TK, man, how about you? What'd you learn?
Well, from Camden, I learned, actually learned before Camden, obviously I'm a little bit older in Camden. I like to, my wife's name is Jessica too. I usually put her to-dos right at the front of my list because when she has something, I usually knock it right out because I can't keep continuing with when are you getting to this? So she's kind of, I don't know if she Jedi mind tricked me into that now or the deal, because now she's like, hey, babe, can you get this done for me? And I'll literally go, stop everything right now. Let me go get this done. So I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to deal with it. And she don't have to keep coming up on me on it. Let me get it off my plate. So I can actually focus on what I need to do. Right. So I'm just a little bit opposite of that, but I had to learn the hard way with that too. But the biggest thing is, I take away what we've already talked about. Everything in life is not about what you know, it's about who you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really just like you guys. It's always in the relationships is where you go and grow. When people, again, I tell people, like, if you think Tim Klund just woke up by himself and did all this by himself, you're nuts. I have amazing friends that introduce me to other amazing friends that help me with, pull me along or push me along or whichever direction I'm going. And sometimes it's just friends that become great family friends that, it's just such a pleasure to hang out and talk to. Right.
Yeah.
And I think if people will quit focusing all the time on money, and it's kind of hard because, like you said, we do have bills to pay. We got things to do. We got groceries to buy. We got vacations to take. And, sometimes you got to sacrifice those things. Right. At the same time, like my wife's like, oh, we're not going on. Like, what are you talking about vacation? Like, not happening. You want to pay for this or you want to go on vacation? You want to finish paying college or you want to go on vacation? Like, which one you want to do? So you also have to not keep up with the Joneses and focus on what makes you and your family happy. Not quit looking in social media. I know drives people crazy because they're always comparing their lives with other people. And you got a bunch of friends that sometimes you're always comparing your lives to other people. No. What I just say, focus on what's best for me and my family today, and what can I do to improve it? So, but again, with this show right here, it's all about the relationships and the people you have in your life. If you have a negative person in your life, cut that person down immediately.
Yeah.
You might love them to death. And I've been doing this lately. Like, there's people that I literally love as much as I love my brothers, but unfortunately I can't have them in my circle anymore because I cannot continue to just keep up with their own personal drama all the time, because by the time I'm getting off phone, I'm negged out from just listening to their stuff. And if you catch yourself in those modes, it ain't nothing personal to your friends. It's time to move on.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Dad, you've said it before. I can
positive
over there. Love them over there. Not right
That's
here.
That's where it has to be. I love them. They just can't be in my circle right now because I have too many things. And, I think a lot of times too, when you really start looking, when you start getting into that fourth dimension and you start looking in the God dimension, and realize the closer you get to God, the more the devil is going to try to pull you away from God. And how does the devil pull you away from God? Is distractions.
Yep.
Right. Yep. And all the extra baggage and the in between your ears and the things that could happen or might happen, or, oh my God, I'm worried about this and it ain't happened yet. Right. But I'm spending all this energy on things where it's like, nope, let me rope back in over here. Let me stay focused on God. Let me stay focused on what his plan is for me. And everything else just seems to work out.
Awesome. Speaking of plans, how do we find out, how do listeners find out more about the softball, celebrity softball fundraiser tournament, and how do they find you and learn more about what's going on with you?
Yeah, it's easy. Usually you can find me on any social network it's the @ Klund09, KOUND09. That's usually from Facebook. Timothy Klund, Tim Klund, TK. I usually have a TK by my name. But the other, for all of our Verve brands that are currently on the market, is BUYVERVE.com, byverve.com. That's VERVE. byverve.com. And then the celebrity softball game, that's another craziness that I dove off into. This will be our 10th year. But last year we raised $450,000 for 15 different veteran charities for this platform. And I think we're going to probably be closer to $750,000 this year for about 20 charities. The lineups are absolutely insane. And it's just crazy with the celebrities and the athletes and everybody coming to play. But we'll also have some veterans on each team. But they can, if you want to find out more information on that, you just go to celebritysoftballclassic.org. or .com, either one, celebritysoftballclassic.org, celebritysoftballclassic.com. For every $1,000 that's donated, we donate out 200 free tickets to different veteran charities, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Boys and Girls Club. So $1,000, if I were to spend $1,000 personally, it would buy 100 tickets. So we're basically just doubling what $1,000 donation would do, right? So, but it's always fun to give people an opportunity to come and enjoy and mix and mingle and get some autographs, especially the little kids. And we do a lot with Special Olympics and, again, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Boys and Girls Club, and Miracle League. And that's really what the whole weekend about with Celebrity Game is, just everybody coming and enjoying, expanding their brand and pulling the resources to do some good. So it's really, honestly, an absolute pain in my ass to do it every year. But it really is like birthing pains. It's just, oh my God, I can't wait till this thing get over with. And then you get to the weekend and you get to see everybody. And I've got guys I got my first roommate when I was 18 in the Philippines who actually taught me how to play softball. He was like, look, you're a really good athlete. You don't understand this game. I'm like, dude, softball. Like, it's no different baseball. Now, there's actually a science behind this game. If you listen to me and you pay attention, I can help you make the base team. Then you get to travel the Pacific. Then you get to have more fun. And so he actually comes and plays in it. And I have some of my other guys that played all Air Force softball with to come in. It's just a big family reunion is really what this weekend's turned into. Not just for me, but all the celebrities too that keep coming back. So
awesome.
CelebritySoftballClassic.com.
Awesome. And Miss Suzanne and I will be there. So we're looking forward to
Yes, I can't wait to see you guys. Yeah, it'll be a good time.
Yeah, it will be.
I appreciate you guys having me on your show, as always, and it's always great talking to you guys, and absolutely love you, and thank you guys for all you do.
Hey, man, great having you. We really appreciate it. Camden, run us out.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all for listening.
Camden, go get that baby room done.
Yes, sir. Thank you all for listening to today's episode of 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis, and a special thanks to our guest, Timothy Klund, for joining us today. TK, for joining us today. Remember, you can watch full episodes of the show on YouTube at 10X Your Team. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to pass it along to other lifelong learners in your tribe so that they can enjoy it too. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. As always, the full archive of episodes available at www.10xyourteam.net. Thanks again, and we'll see y'all next time.